Generally when I do a water change, I will clean the substrate 1 week, and the next week I will do the filter. And the reason is that I use a deep bed system, which is part of the filtration. And what happens is you get aerobic and anaerobic bacteria in the gravel, and I don't want to disturb both. I've actually tested a little thing on this because I was quite interested to see what happens. And if I do both, my nitrates go up from about 5 to 11, 12 parts per million. So if I do them individually, it only goes up by 1. So that's why I do this. I always say have a deep sand bed or a deep bed. It looks a bit unsightly, but it does a good job, and in nature that's how it's done. So that's why I do it this way. Hi guys, just a note on that, I normally do a 50% water change. That's purely preference, but I do believe that 50% is good, providing you match your parameters. And what I mean by that is you don't want a pH swing. Temperatures they can deal with because obviously you've got a quantity of water in there already, but pH is very important, so test your water in and out. Also, when you're doing a water change, think about what the fish are doing at the time. I've sucked up so many babies at the time, so what I do now is I put it against a piece of decor, and that seems to be a good way of doing it. Clean the glass before you suck the water out. I clean the glass once a month, and the reason I do that is because I have fish in there that graze off the bacteria and everything that grows on the glass, so obviously I don't want them to starve. I've got 2 filters in this tank. I always recommend 2 filters. You can do 2 small ones, 2 big ones, it's up to you. The reason I do it is if one stops or anything like that, it's not a big deal. If I want to take this out and seed another tank, I can do that, but that's just purely preference. But that's why I do 50% water changes. This is a really good way of getting the water back in the tank. What I do, I've got dechlorinated water, it's got a fertilizer in it. Dechlorinated water, it's got a fertilizer in it. At the bottom there's 1,000 litre an hour. Well, it's probably only pushing about 600 at the moment because obviously it's got to pump that distance. But it's 1,000 litre ORZ or whatever they call it on 22mm Eheim pipe with a gooseneck. Now the gooseneck's normally what delivers it back into the tank, so this kind of makes sense. And I'm going to turn it on. It's going to make a bit of a noise, but there you go. Much easier. Doesn't disturb anything. You can put a filter foam on the end of that, and then you wouldn't get any of this. Is what I normally do, but because it's quite a large tank, it won't need it. But there's some good ideas for you. I normally fill it up to about 2 inches from the top. Guys, thank you very much. When I do a water change, I tend not to put the dechlorinator straight in the tank in here. The reason I do that is because the tap water is obviously going in there, is having an effect before the dechlorinator can take over. So what I do is I bring the water in. The dechlorinated water is now, the normal water's in there and I've dechlorinated it, and now I'm going to pump it into the tank. Now all you've got to do then is fill up that pumps into that, and that way you're dechlorinating. And I think that's a better way of doing it, to be honest, than putting it straight in the tank. But we shall see. I'm going to fill her up now and see how we get on. On that note, you can actually tell what the pump head height is with any pump if you do it this way, because obviously the further up that tube it goes, the harder it is to push, the lower the flow. But that's how I do it, and that way there's no chlorination going into that water at all. There's just nothing, whether it's chloramine or chlorine, it's just not going in my tank. Now normally what I'll do as well, if you've got a planted aquarium such as this one, I'll normally trim everything up and make a mess in the tank before I drain the water out. And if you are looking at some of this, if you look at the Anubias for argument's sake, yeah, it's got new leaves. What you can do, if you take these old leaves off, they don't grow back, but it promotes a new growth at the top, so that's quite a good tip. Also do the filter at this time if you're going to do the filter. With these ones it's quite good because you just literally take the top off put the cartridges in and out, done. As you can see, we've got loads of babies in there today. So, but yeah, so that's basically what you want to do. Make sure everything's tidy. People don't like floating plants. I kind of like them, purely on the understanding is that they suck the hell out of nitrates, so that's quite good. And I've got some Porthos I'm going to put on the tanks as well. Daniel Fish Keeping gave me the idea of live plants. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the bamboo in there. It just wouldn't have it, so I'm going to try this and see if I can get the Porthos to go. Okay, so let's carry on with that. This is what I use to clean glass sometimes if I need to. One of these, they're quite good. They do the job really well. I purely use this if I'm doing something like, let's go over in the corner. If I'm doing that glass, for instance, I'll just go in there, give it an angle, just gently go over it, and you can actually feel where the debris is on the tank. This tank poses a different kind of set of rules because obviously it's got the panoramic glass, there's no seal there. And what I tend to use with that is just one of the little green scouring pad sponges type things. That's quite easy to do. And there's it all trimmed up, so we're going to get the water change done now. We'll see what it looks like there. Also, just a quick note, when you are going anywhere near a tank, I can't stress enough, turn your electrics off, okay? The heater especially, because as the water drops down, the heater gets hotter and hotter and hotter. When it's exposed, it will go bang. I've seen them crack, I've seen them explode, I've seen them all sorts. Also, the filter, you don't want it to run dry because obviously you're going to destroy the impeller there. So make sure you turn all the electrics off. You can keep a light on. I mean, these ones are waterproof anyway, the Aqua Sky, but you can, you know, move it if you have to. All right, just make sure you do that.